Hello, everyone. We are going into a brief break and will return momentarily. Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Lane. We're just waiting on a few more members.
Great. Good morning. Good. I guess we're almost afternoon.
Right.
Hello, Senator. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today.
Not a problem.
Well, I've got noon on the calendar, so I think we'll get started. Let me get a quick count here for quorum. I see Michael and Trish and Brad. Dan, remind me how many total members we have now with the new positions?
Dr. Lane, I believe that number is 13.
So we need 7.
I'm not so sure who is calling in with the number from area code 757-322-2805. So if you could recognize yourself, we could rename you.
Rear Admiral Rock, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being with us, Rear Admiral Rock. Appreciate it. So I think I see 7. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're good to go. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I call this meeting of the Virginia Council on the Interstate Compact on Educational Opportunity for Military Children to order. First, I want to thank all of our council members for being here. We have our mandate is that we meet once a year, but we've typically met more often than that. And we usually meet in December to get our mid-year update and potentially talk about potential legislative priorities. That was a request of one of our members a few years ago, just to talk right before session. And I see that Delegate Guy just called in. Hey, how are you? Well, that's actually next on my agenda, is to introduce new members. And so I'm so pleased to introduce everyone to Delegate Nancy Guy. Delegate Guy serves as the Virginia delegate for the 83rd District. Delegate Guy grew up in a Navy family and is no stranger to the Navy way of life. She holds a Bachelor's of Fine Arts from William & Mary and a Juris Doctor degree from the University of Virginia. She proudly acknowledges that she is a product of Virginia public education programs and has long been a supporter of public education. She served 2 terms on her local school board, the board of WHRO, the board of CSEP, the Southeastern Cooperative Educational Program, 12 years on the Virginia Education Foundation Board, 2 terms as president of the PTSA at Virginia Beach's largest high school, a member of the Virginia Beach City Council of PTAs, and a member of the Legislative Committee of the Virginia PTA. So Delegate Guy, we want to welcome you to the council and thank you so much for your service to the Commonwealth.
My pleasure. I specifically asked for this appointment, so I want you guys to know that I got it, not because of default, but because I consider this a critical issue and I consider the work you do critically important and I wanted to be involved in it. So thank you for, as a member of the Virginia Beach School Board and as a PTA president and all the various roles that I had in Virginia Beach, I continuously saw the special challenges that children and military families face in terms of their education, and I want to do everything I can to help them. So I appreciate being part of this group.
Well, we're excited to have you. And I introduced the rest of our new members the last time, and so welcome to those of you that joined us in the last meeting for your second meeting. And I know that I already said hello to the senator, and so we're so glad to have all of our returning members as well. So thank you much, Dr. Bailey and Brad as well. I'm going to turn to action items in our agenda. Today's meeting is actually a relatively short agenda. We set the meeting for 2 hours, but I just wanted to prepare council members. I don't know that this will go the full 2 hours, but obviously that will leave us plenty of time for discussion or questions if you have anything on anything that we talk about today. The first item here is you have draft minutes from the October 9 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I move approval of the minutes.
Thank you. Motion by Senator Locke.
Move to second.
Second by Michael Lalonde. All in favor? Actually, I think we have to do roll call vote because we're virtual. And so, Dan, I'll have you call the roll.
Yes, sir. Senator Lott,
Aye.
Mrs. Schnappel,
Aye.
Dr. Baylor. Dr. Baylor, you have to unmute.
So sorry. Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Delegate Guy,
Present.
Dr. Brown.
Here?
Dr. Brown, we're voting, so I just need you to say aye or
Oh,
nay.
aye, aye.
Dr. Brown, we're voting on the minutes of our last meeting. I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Rear Admiral Rock,
Aye.
Mr. Willen,
Aye.
And
Dr. Jan. I
the
think
chair
that's everyone,
votes
Dr.
as
Jan.
well. Yeah, thank you, Dan. And Delegate Guy, I know you said present, but you meant to abstain since you weren't here the last meeting. Delegate Guy, do you abstain?
Yes. I mean, usually when you vote present, that means you're here, but you're not voting. Yes. Since I wasn't here, I can't approve minutes. I didn't know anything about it.
Gotcha. Thank you. So the motion passes. The minutes are approved. So thank you all so much for that. And for those watching at home, we are in a virtual setting. We cannot wait for the day that we can all be back in person, and hopefully that will be the next time we get together. And so all of our votes, council members, will be by roll call. The next item on the agenda is the discussion of legislative priorities. And as I mentioned in the introduction to this meeting, several years ago, a council member requested that we schedule a meeting in December specifically to see if there are priorities of the council that members would like to see information sent to the General Assembly. Following this meeting, if there are any items of note, we typically send a letter to the leadership of the House and the Senate with any of those priorities, and the governor, of course. And so at this time, we'd like to provide an opportunity for council members to discuss any legislative priorities related to the needs or in the interest of military-connected students or their families that members may have. And Dan, I know last year we had one priority around Title 50 orders. And I don't know if you wanted to remind the council members of that, and then we'll open it up to discussion.
Yes, sir. So last year, we brought to the attention of the agency, maybe perhaps the need to expand the provisions under the compact to other citizens in the who reside in the Commonwealth, whose children are impacted by the same transitional challenges that military-connected children. These parents are engaged in activities that are, in the interest of national security, whether they're working for the State Department or whether they're embedded with military service members or commands and doing the work, either on a ship or abroad. Those families are transitioning from abroad and back home frequently, and they're moving around the country doing the same kinds of things. And so typically those folks are captured under Title 22, or Title, other titles like Title 32. And so we asked the governor through the agency last year, I think, to consider that. And I don't think it was one of those things that was selected. So again, that's what we did last year. As I mentioned during the last council meeting in October, there was a work group formed by the National Children's Compact Commission, and they looked very closely at the National Guard and Reserve Forces, and how those folks are now being used more frequently, and how those families are experiencing transitional challenges, even when they're not under Title 10 orders, which under the compact would cover them. But most of the time, these folks are activated, by their states and not necessarily by the federal government under Title 10. And so they would still be experiencing the same transitional challenges. And so the Children's Commission is moving forward with the compact. The work groups recommendations that they develop some language that may in fact change the compact itself, or maybe make a recommendation that states consider changing their eligibility as we just suggested last year, to include those folks in National Guard and Reserve under state activated orders. Dr. Lane, is that about it?
Thank you, Dan. And so that is really the only standing position of the council. Many other pieces of legislation have made their way through either legislative or compact action. And so we just wanted to pose to the council whether you want to retain that position, or whether you have other positions, or whether you want to cancel that position this year. And so with that, I'll open it up to council members for feedback on any potential new positions and thoughts on that item related to those in civil service in specific national security roles.
Hey, Dr. Lane, Admiral Rock here. From my point of view, kind of one team, one fight here. So I'm in favor of a broader view of this. Over.
Thank you, Rear Admiral Rock.
I would agree. I don't see any reason why we would, lessen our impact, and we could actually broaden it for all students. I think it's a very positive thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Dr. Brown, I too am in agreement with that. I think we need to broaden it.
Thank you.
I think it's
Dr.
a
Lane.
good idea. Is there any legislation that's been put forth? And if so, who's carrying it? Because I haven't heard anything about it.
No, ma'am. No, to date, there has not been a bill drafted on that, and there was not a bill last session. And so we send the letter to the leadership as a request for consideration. That's really all we do. Obviously, from that point on, we leave it in the hands of the governor and the legislators.
Okay. Because, the deadline's passed for submission to DLS for drafting now, and we're all operating under very strict and small bill limits this shortened virtual session. So it is literally too late to put in anything new if there's not something somewhere already in the pipeline that we can grab onto.
Thanks for that, Delegate Guy. And that's a great reminder. I shared with the council last year that we typically want to have these in by September. And so some of the thought is that even if we draft a letter now, it will be under consideration for the next biennial session.
Dr. Lane, this is Martha Hall. I too am in favor of including the other groups as well, having been affected as a military spouse and also as a State Department employee, having lived abroad and returning back to the state. You're not necessarily a military dependent anymore, but you certainly are coming from abroad. And I know that my son did experience some of those adjustment issues and couldn't really participate because you're not a military dependent anymore. So I think that would be very helpful to those children that are sort of in their own categories.
Thank you. Well, this item actually does not require action because it is a standing position of the council. Unless someone wants to make a motion to not keep this position, we will send a letter, and Delegate Guy, based on your feedback, which I thought was really good, we'll add language to that even if it's not for this session, that it may be under consideration in future sessions. Okay. Well, I think at this time, no need for motion. Are there any other legislative priorities that individuals have at this time that you'd also like included in our letter? Or is everyone comfortable moving forward on our work for civilians and national security being the primary new piece that we want to advocate for? Sounds like we're good to go. Okay. Thank you all so much for that discussion. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Dunham, who is the individual at the Department of Education that leads our work with the Military Compact. He's going to give you an update on activities in his office.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. So the only thing I really have to share today, ladies and gentlemen, is that we did have a military family symposium that was held on November the 14th. And I'm happy to say that we had 52 attendees, many of whom were either military family members or were folks in the field supporting military family members. And for the 4 hours, and that's a long time to sit there and listen to presentation after presentation, all 52 attendees remained online and engaged. And they were very complimentary of some of the things that they received. In particular, they really appreciated the candor that was shared by Mrs. Michelle Norman, a military spouse with a special needs child who did a really good job of just sort of encouraging folks to participate and advocate on behalf of their children and to become engaged in state SEACs and local SEACs and other venues to get out there in front of advocating on behalf of the needs of military connected children with special needs. They also highlighted how much they appreciated the comments that were made, regarding the due process hearing and information on how that really, works and how, how to, maybe when to consider it, when not to consider it, and when it's probably best to, look more towards mediation and facilitated IEPs, things like that. And then I think probably the best segment was the segment on the I'm Determined project. We had military connected children who had participated in I'm Determined and had talked about how that particular program helped them to strengthen their self-advocacy skills and how complimentary they were of that particular program and how they really hope to see more military connected children across the state become involved in that particular program. But again, it was a very successful symposium. It's going to be replicated this time. I think it's going to be really developed more with PETC, and I'm already hearing about some of their plans. I'm looking forward to some of that. So anyway, that's it.
So thanks, Dan. A short report from Mr. Dunham. Since we met just a few months ago in the fall, that's really our major new update. Obviously, we did a more extensive update at the last meeting, but any question for Mr. Dunham on activities in his office? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dunham. The next item on our agenda is Purple Star Award appeals. When we met the last time, you may recall that we approved a full slate of Purple Star awarded schools. The Purple Star schools are schools that apply to the Department of Education to receive recognition for their support of military families. And then we offer an opportunity for any school division or school not selected to reapply on appeal with additional information. And we received additional information from 20 additional schools. And we'd like to recommend today Sorry, Dan, as I'm looking on my list, I see in the notes you wrote 20 additional schools, but I only actually see 3. I just want to confirm that it's 3 and not 20.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Dr. Lane. That is a typo on my part. There are only 3 schools for appeal. And I'm sorry again to York County where there's a typo on the screen. So my apologies.
No problem. And so, so again, I'll clarify what I just said. And there are 3 additional schools that submitted additional information that we would like to receive the Purple Star. For new council members, we typically do big on-site celebrations when the Purple Star is announced and invite council members to attend. Because of the nature of the pandemic, many school divisions have not been having those similar celebrations. But when there are virtual opportunities, we will continue to make you aware. The 3 schools that we recommend to you upon appeal are Dare Elementary School in York County and Samuel Gravely Elementary School and Bristow Run Elementary School in Prince William County. So I'll ask for a motion first and then we can have discussion, but is there a motion to approve these additional schools as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the additional schools presented.
Motion by Barry Brown.
Second.
I think I heard a second from Senator Locke. Thank you. Any discussion on the additional 3 schools? Okay, and so with that, we will call the roll. So all in favor will say aye, all opposed to say opposed, and any abstaining will call for abstentions. Or ask you to say that you abstain, excuse me. And so with that, Dan, if you'll call the roll.
Sure. Senator Locke,
Aye.
Mrs. Schnappel,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Delegate Guy,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Willen,
Abstain because I was part of the process. I won't be a part of the process next year, so I'll vote next year. This time I'll abstain.
thank you. Dr. Brown,
Aye.
Dr. Baylor,
Aye.
Dr. Spence,
Aye.
Rear Admiral Rock.
Aye.
Sir, I believe that's everyone online.
And the chair votes aye as well. So I just want to say a hearty congratulations to Dare, Samuel Gravely, and Bristow Run on your selection. If any of you are on the call, we will be notifying you, and please let us know so that we can invite council members if you have celebrations in your home communities. Before we leave this topic, we've been having some discussion in the department on how we might be able to expedite appeals so that those that apply on appeal could receive notification in a timeline similar to the other schools. And so on the agenda, one of the things we wanted to get your feedback on was whether you wanted to grant the department authority to award appeals when those came in so that it didn't have to come to the council. And, you know, sometimes there's 6-month gaps between the times that we meet. I'll abstain from a vote because what you would be voting on is whether the superintendent of public instruction might be able to approve those. But we wanted to get some initial feedback and potentially a motion on whether the council wanted to grant the authority to the department via the superintendent of public instruction to award appeals. Of course, we'll bring you an update on those at our council meetings if any appeals are awarded. And that would just allow us to do that in a timely manner. There is no requirement that the council actually takes action on the Purple Stars. That's a process that we put in place because we wanted the council to have the opportunity to see all the names. And so before I even consider a motion, I just wanted to see if the council had thoughts on granting an appeal process to the department via the superintendent.
Well, I think, Dr. Lane, that it makes it more appropriate for the timing of the award. Obviously, the longer you wait for the award to be, the school to be recognized, the longer there is that gap between when they actually submitted the application and when they were recognized. So I think clearly the shorter that time frame is, I think the better. So I would certainly be in favor of granting you that that ability.
I personally would appreciate it, so I wouldn't have to abstain from voting on my schools.
Thanks to both of you. Other council members?
I would agree.
Okay, thank you, Senator Locke.
I would agree also. Great idea.
Okay,
Yeah, it
as well.
makes absolute sense to speed that process up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Great
I
idea.
agree. I
Okay.
agree.
I agree.
thank you. Then I will ask for a motion that the council approve for the superintendent of public instruction to approve any appeal for Purple Star designations. Is there a motion in that regard?
So
I
moved.
so move.
We got a motion by Michael Willen, and any seconds?
Second.
Second.
Second from Dr. Baylor. And so with that, we'll call the roll, and Mr. Dunham.
Thank you. Senator Locke,
Aye.
Delegate Guy,
Aye.
Mr. Schnappel,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Willen,
Aye.
Dr. Brown,
Aye.
Dr. Baylor,
Aye.
Dr. Spence,
Aye.
Rear Admiral Rock.
Aye.
Sir, that's it.
And chair abstains, Dan, for the minutes, since that impacts me directly. Okay, and then I promised a short agenda today since we had just met a couple months ago. But we had one other item on the agenda, which was to discuss the meeting calendar for 2021. And so, Mr. Dunham, I'll turn that over to you.
Sure. So we have, need maybe to meet twice a year. I think twice a year is probably going to be good enough. I'd like everyone to consider April the 21st of 2021. That will be the big meeting of the year. We're going to do a really big report for you on my activities and what I do. And then we'll look at military identifier numbers as well, and probably have some really good presentations for you. April the 21st is also going to be Purple Up Day. So I just really think that that's a great time for us to maybe come together as a council and sort of celebrate, military kids across the state, as a collective. So anyway, that's one of the proposed dates. The other date will be in October. That will allow the council to again come together, vote on Purple Star School initial, selections, and also hear any information I might have from the National Business Meeting of the Children's Compact Commission. Typically, the Children's Compact Commission meets in the middle of October, towards the end of October. So I'm proposing that we look at Wednesday, October the 27th, as a possible date to hold that council meeting in October. So October the 27th, and then April the 21st.
And council members, you may note that we are not recommending a December meeting next year. And that's in part based on what Delegate Guy was talking about. We wanted to have the council meeting in the fall early enough that we could have discussions on legislative priorities in a timeline that allowed us to send feedback to our legislators and to the governor before bill limits are announced and everything else, so they could consider any positions. As you can see from today, there were not many new action items, and we kind of think of the April meeting as the annual meeting where we will do major updates, and then we'll also in October do our Purple Star Awards. And then the appeal authority you just granted to the department will allow us to make sure that those are done in a timely manner, which was another reason to cancel the December meeting. And so we're recommending 2 meeting dates next year, April and October. And the council has never done this. We've called meetings ad hoc in the past, but after discussion with Dan, I really want to set a set schedule so that everyone can plan their calendars next year, and then set somewhat of a precedent so that we have those meetings. Everybody knows the general time frame that we'll always meet in April for Purple Up Day and Purple Up Month. And then, of course, in October to handle items related to the compact and legislative priorities and Purple Star Awards. So that was our general thinking. We're obviously open to meeting more often if the council would like. And so with that, I'll ask for any discussion, and then we'll, after discussion, take a motion on the calendar.
I do want to note that 2021 is an election year for those of us in the House of Delegates. So that will be the week before the election. And so although you can have legislative priorities, you may or may not have the same legislators a week later. So you're going to need to leave yourself some flexibility on who carries what.
Thank you, Delegate Guy. That's great feedback. And if council members wanted to move back into November, I think that would not be too difficult. We could move to, say, the week after the election if that was the will of the council.
Is it the intent of the date to discuss and affirm legislative priorities that are then just going to get shared moving forward anyway?
That's correct.
So it isn't that you're inviting any specific delegation in to talk about it in that date, right? So I think it's probably still okay. Unless I'm misreading it. Delegate Guy. Also nice to see you, by the way.
Nice to see you, Dr. Spence. I mean, that's true. Obviously, that last week in October is going to be a really busy one for me next year, but I'll try to carve an hour out.
That's true.
Yeah, it is in the middle of campaign season for our two, for one of our delegation. And so, Delegate Guy, I think we would lean on your advice if that's too busy a time, because we certainly wouldn't want you to not be there.
Like I said, I'm sure I can carve out an hour. It's just, that will be literally a week before Election Day. So it's a time that's, if it's all the same to y'all, a week later would be better, and I would know whether I'm going to continue being on the board,
Mr. Dunham, what is the date of 2 weeks later so that we'd be 1 week past election?
So, I mean, you could do it the week of the 15th through the 19th of November. I think, am I correct in saying that elections usually happen on the...
Yeah, it'll be October 2nd next year.
Yeah. Okay, October 2nd. I mean November 2nd.
November 2nd.
So you could certainly do it the week of the 8th through the 12th. The only thing I mentioned is that typically the schools who receive Purple Star have loved receiving the award before their Veterans Day ceremonies. They make a big brouhaha of the award during their Veterans Day ceremonies when the community is already coming to the school. That would be one of those things that they could not do because they wouldn't have received the award until after the council votes. So if we wanted to, we could push it up earlier into October. That would give plenty of time for those on the council to vote and for us to get the award out. And it's not near the voting date.
But Dan, I know you attend the national meeting. We always like to get that feedback as well.
Right. Yeah. You
Guy,
can't have it all.
What do you think about November 4th, just 2 days after the election?
I don't think that's a problem, sir. We can get that. We can make that happen.
Delegate, I apologize. I think you might have been muted.
Sorry. October 27th. I mean, I'll make it work. I just wanted you to know, that since we're discussing legislative, things might be shifting underneath us, but as if I'm gone, I'll hand it off to somebody else or whatever. I won by 40 votes, and I've already got 2 opponents, so I don't assume that I'm going to be around every electoral cycle. There's no such thing as safe for me, but I will certainly make sure that you're taken care of regardless.
Okay, well, thank you, Delegate Guy. It sounds like with the timing, the 27th may be the best. And so, Delegate Guy, unless you really want to push us, maybe we'll keep that date. Any other discussion on the dates before we take a motion? So is there a motion to approve April 21st and October 27th as the dates? Feel free to amend that second date if anyone feels like it. But is there a motion on those 2 dates?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Aaron Spence, second by Senator Locke. So any other discussion before we vote on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Dunham, if you'll call the roll.
Senator Locke,
Aye.
Mrs. Schnappel,
Aye.
Delegate Guy,
Aye.
Dr. Hall,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Willen,
Aye.
Dr. Brown,
Aye.
Dr. Baylor,
Aye.
Dr. Spence.
Aye.
Thank you, Rear Admiral Rock.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. Motion passes. And so please lock those dates in on your calendar. And I appreciate the decision on the 2 meetings a year. The council can always come back in April and add more meetings if you need. And so if that becomes a necessity, we'll discuss it at the next council meeting. Typically at this time, sorry, let me check my agenda notes. Actually, before I talk about the closing, we have public comment, Mr. Dunham.
Dr. Lane, I have received no public comments via email or during this meeting today.
Okay. So public comment then is closed. Thank you all listening on the call, and certainly continue to stay engaged with us and provide your feedback. And we look forward to engaging with the public on April 21st and October 27th of next year. The last item on the agenda is closing. Typically, we would go into a closed session to look at numbers on military connected students. We did that at our last meeting, so the next major update won't be available till our April meeting. So we are not going to have a need for a closed session today. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And so with that, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all of our council members. 2020 has certainly been an interesting year. I want to thank all of our military families out there. I know that your lives have been upended, potentially even more so than many of the families in Virginia with the pandemic. And just know that the entire system of education in the Commonwealth and all of the leadership here is supporting you. To council members, I hope that you get some time to relax in this winter season. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. And by April, hopefully we'll be closer to meeting in person and where we can all see each other and maybe even shake hands for the first time in a long time. But I know we're all looking forward to renewed energy as we support students in 2021. And I thank you all for your service to the council. And at this time, if there are any announcements or comments. And with that, thank you, and everyone have a great day, and I'll see you in 2021.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays
Thank
to
you.
all.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
To see
Stay safe.
everyone.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.